There's a look from the Unico U.S. Bancorp Tower building overlooking downtown Portland. Welcome to AM Northwest. Our first guest is an Emmy award-winning journalist who's reported on stories all over the world, all the while secretly suffering from a lifetime of anxiety and panic attacks. His new book shares an unflinching look at living with anxiety and the search to conquer it. We welcome the author of No Time to Panic, ABC News Chief National Correspondent Matt Gutman. So great to have you here. It's an incredible book, and it really is an eye-opener. But let's first touch on, everyone thinks you're a national correspondent. You're in war zones. You're in natural disasters. And yet you were suffering from panic attacks.
You know, I felt calm in the natural disasters. I felt calm in the chaos.
Yeah.
Rockets raining down from Gaza. Because for some reason I felt I could control that danger. I felt less confident controlling myself on air, specifically in live shots where perfection was expected, right? Where nothing is going on, it's perfectly calm.
Right.
You have no reason in the world to flub it. So you've got to be flawless. And that is what basically caused my massive anxiety and my panic attacks.
And at one point, when you're reporting on the plane crash with Kobe Bryant and his daughter, something happens.
I made a catastrophic mistake during a panic, and I'd had hundreds of panic attacks in the course of my then 10 years, now 14 years in business. And something happened. You know, it's a question of how many lanes of traffic a human brain can navigate at once. And there was a lot going on in mine because there was really weird symmetry happening that day. Kobe Bryant's helicopter went down about 10 miles from my house. And he died when he was basically exactly the same age as my father, who died in a plane crash. And I was almost the exact same age as Gianna, his daughter, who died. And so I think all this stuff was subconsciously swirling around in my head. And I was unable to separate two facts. One was reportable and one was not. And it was a catastrophic mistake.
Your dad's death was really traumatic, and it really had this incredible impact on you as a child. So talk to me a little bit about that.
I mean, I'm speaking to you as someone who
My dad died,
communicates
in a plane crash when I was 9. So
and the shared language of grief, right?
Right.
We share this sort of lexicon of living life despite having gone through a tragedy and a trauma that maybe isn't, you know, conspicuously haunting us, but is somewhere subconscious in our brains our whole lives. So yeah, I mean, I think it made me who I am, which is ambitious and heart-charging and sensitive and caring and wants to do good things. But it also made me probably anxious. I mean, I don't know exactly.
Well,
but it obviously
I think it did. And also, you talked to, when you were, right before you went on live shots, you did a couple of things that you kind of did to keep yourself in check, right? So, cigarette smoking. You had your lucky underwear.
There were multiple pairs, Helen, so it wasn't, I mean, it sounds bad.
But tell me more about, and push-ups, right? You would do push-ups. So tell me about all those rituals you had before a live shot to kind of keep yourself from freaking out.
I had all these different rituals that I did. And yes, cigarettes was part of it because I thought that they imbued me with some sort of magical power that warded off panic. I had a couple of pairs of lucky underwear, which didn't work. I tried Xanax, push-ups, breathing in so much, because when I would have a panic attack, I felt like I couldn't breathe. And that's what a lot of people feel, sort of suffocation, very short breath. So I'd have to do this breathe up to hold all the oxygen in so I wouldn't run out of air. But none of it worked. And in my brain, the reason the book is called No Time to Panic, in my brain I'm thinking, I'm going live now, and I feel the panic coming on. Now is not the time to panic. This is no time to panic. And you know, these recurring thoughts and the rituals that we have ahead of panic attacks only make it worse. We're telling our brain that it's being threatened, which propels you into that panic attack.
You also had imposter syndrome. Like you were telling yourself, you say your drill sergeant was screaming in your mind, you're blithering, you're not worthy of your peers, you're going to fail. And here you are, the successful correspondent.
I think there are a lot of people like that who achieve a measure of success but feel they're not worthy. And you know, when my peers are David Muir and Diane Sawyer and George Stephanopoulos and Robin Roberts, you know, you definitely feel like you want to be respected by them. And you know, there really are two major, as I learned in the 3.5 years reporting this book, there are two major fears that humans have had for thousands of generations. One is physical death. You're going to be on the savannah and a lion is going to come eat you. The second is social fear, that you will be somehow kicked out of the group that you are in, your cave group, your tribe.
Right.
For me, it was ABC and the colleagues I so respected. And then you'd be out on the savannah alone, wandering, and a lion would come eat you.
Right.
So we learned to associate social threats as being as dangerous as physical threats. And this is in us. It's
Right.
normal. We are hardwired for that. And that's why when people say you shouldn't care what people think, but we have to.
Yeah.
We live in a society that is deeply networked, and we rely on other human beings.
After the reporting, after the mistake you made on the air live during your panic attack, you were suspended by ABC for a month. And is that when you thought, I need to rethink what I'm doing here?
I've been thinking that for years before.
Okay. You knew something had to change.
I was just unhappy.
Yeah.
You know, it made me just fear doing a live shot. I would have anticipatory anxiety. My wife knew about it. My agent knew about it. My therapist knew about it, but nobody else. And I had this secret that was buried.
Right.
And so I was thinking about leaving the business for years before that. And when I was suspended, you know, suspension has a way of opening up your schedule. I decided
Yeah.
that I would just try things I'd never tried before. My wife and I decided I would give this a period of time, and if it didn't work, I was out.
Right.
And I would go back to being a print reporter or something else.
When there's your wife, beautiful wife.
Daphne, she's the best.
When Dan Harris did his book about meditation, did that click with you at all?
I had been meditating since I was 12.
Oh.
I tried meditation.
Yeah.
I tried mindfulness.
You say
I
it's
tried
like
medication.
Yeah, like it's step-by-step. Meditation is more one little baby step at a time, right?
So there are lots of things that work, right? So this was a 3.5-year
You
journey.
tried a lot of different
Yeah.
things.
So I was trying to get from now is not the time to panic to I don't have time for panic anymore.
Okay.
Right? It was like this mind shift in my brain. And so I did try everything from every pharmaceutical you can imagine, with my psychiatrist giving them to me, obviously with prescriptions,
Right.
to altered states, from breath work, which is like this heavy duty breathing that basically propels you into a different mind state,
Right.
to hallucinogens and psychedelics. And you know, we talked about grief, right?
Yeah.
That was the only way that I could really tap in to what I call the well of grief, this place that I held this deep sadness inside me that I couldn't get to in my right mind, and I needed help getting there. And by excavating that, it was a massive relief.
You talked to about meeting a woman on a plane, and something she said clicked with you.
So it was my last full-on, sweating through my clothes panic attack on World News Tonight, December 2020. And I'd never told anybody about my panic. And on this day, as I was carrying my carry-on luggage and my shame hangover on board the Southwest flight, you know, you choose your own seat. I sat next to this woman. She looked friendly, and I started talking to her. And I just told her everything.
Wow.
And it turns out that she had panic attacks. Her daughter suffers from panic. And I realized there are a lot of other people out there. And I knew cognitively that anywhere from 28% to 50% of Americans will experience a panic attack at least once in their lifetimes. But it's a different thing when you start sharing with people.
Right.
And then they start sharing back, and you realize how many people out there are affected by this and are silent about it.
Right. And you're meeting a lot of people
And
who've
now
been
it's-
through the same thing.
Yeah.
You also talk, because I experienced a panic attack on the news desk years ago, thought it was a heart attack, went to the ER, had to go through all that. But that's common. Like, it's common.
First of all, I want to address what you just said, and it's unbelievably brave of you, Helen, to say this on television now, to talk and share about your panic attack on air, and that you thought you were having a heart attack.
Right.
Did you actually call 911?
Oh, I went to the ER. Yeah.
40% of all patients admitted to the ER with chest pains thinking they're dying of a heart attack are actually having a panic attack. And
It's
not
the same symptoms. Right.
virtually the same symptoms. And it's not because those people are hypochondriacs or they're whining. It's because they literally mimic the symptoms.
Right.
And there's almost no way to tell the difference for a medical professional, even if they've done it for many years. And I interview people in the book, and they're like, we can't tell the difference until you actually get the checkup. So I'm sorry you went through that.
I'm good, and you're doing good, so we're all good.
Yeah.
We have so much more to talk about. The book, again, is No Time to Panic, and we'll chat more with Matt Gutman when we come back. Welcome back to AM Northwest. We're talking with the author of the new book, No Time to Panic, ABC's Matt Gutman. I do want to talk about your kids a bit, because sometimes phobias can be generational, like fears and all of that can pass along to your kids, or you could have inherited it from your folks. Have you talked to your kids about, before the book came out, about all of this?
Yeah, we're very open in our household about anxiety, right? And
great.
My kids are anxious, and we know it, it's obvious. They're genetically designed for it. There's nothing we can do, unfortunately. But you know, evolutionarily, anxiety was adaptive. Like, it was something that actually became a successful trait for first apes and then Homo sapiens, right? Being scared sooner got us away from the lion before we had to run away. We could just walk away. Being able to think abstractly was part of that. And so, you know, for me, I think that my anxiety in some way is my superpower, because it makes me exquisitely attuned to the behaviors, to the facial expressions of others. And in my job, when I literally parachute into Afghanistan, Iraq, Kansas, wherever it is, and I have to connect with people immediately, I can speak to them. And I don't know how, but I'm really good at connecting. And it's because I'm sensitive. So, you know, it's both my weakness and my strength.
Oh, I love that. You also, it seems like you have found ways to relax. Don't know if it was before you learned all of this, but I love how you hang out with the dogs and they're with you no matter what. Do they help you relax?
You know, so there's a lot of talk about psychedelics, pharmaceuticals in this book.
This picture, I adore.
And that's literally, like, she comes and sits on my lap when I read.
Because she's such a lap dog.
She is unbelievable. Well,
big for a lap dog.
Both of them.
Yeah.
But you know, we talk about, everybody talks about drugs and medicines. The medicines that we have in our body are the best. So in that picture, the dog's on me, I'm releasing oxytocin, which is a feel-good hormone.
You've got to be relaxed there, for sure.
You take a 5-minute walk, and you're releasing serotonin, 90% of which lives in your gut. 5 minutes. 30 minutes of exercise, that's morphine in your body, endogenous morphines, endorphins. And we forget that we can actually create these. So a lot of, like, feeling better about myself is first taking the stigma away from panic. I don't feel ashamed anymore. I don't feel ashamed of the panic I had, and I might have one in the future, and if it happens, I'm okay. The drill sergeant in my brain has been retired.
Good.
He's gone. He's in Tahiti right now. You know, I'm still tough on myself sometimes, and I'm ambitious and hard-charging, but I'm not going to hate myself if I have a panic attack again. I'm going to be much more calm about it and self-loving. And it sounds weird, but that's what we have to do.
So what do you do now before a live shot? That's
nothing.
Important.
I try not to do anything, because if I have a whole pregame, it's just alerting my brain that I'm coming under threat. So I prepare, I get ready, and I trust that I can do it, because I've done it thousands of times. And even with a panic attack, I've done it, and successfully. I made one on-air mistake because of a panic attack, and it was catastrophic. But so you just have to trust and know that all the work that I've done, the psychedelics, the trauma stuff, working on this well of grief, that is cumulative, and that I'm just in general in a much better place than I was in years past.
We hear the truth will set you free. Do you feel like you've been set free? And also, I see that it feels like you're really enjoying your family. Like, I love the pictures of you cooking pancakes. I'm going to assume that's for the kids on a weekend morning or something like that.
And me. Yeah. I've always enjoyed my family. I mean, that's just my life. And
but so even more so, do you feel like since you've found more about yourself?
It did coincide with COVID, so I was home a lot more.
There you go. Okay,
which was actually good for my personal life, because I ended up spending much more time with the kids, because I'm always on the road, but now I was home a lot, so that was good. No, but I feel like this journey has made me a better husband, made me a better father, a better employee, and yes, the sharing was the best medicine. Unburdening 20 years of this secret. I mean, Helen, I was so secretive about my panic that when I wrote about it in my own journal, I wrote in hieroglyphics in this shorthand that I developed that even I couldn't read. I mean, that's how secretive I was about it, because I thought, God forbid somebody finds out that I have panic attacks, I'm going to be let go. They're going to fire me.
And yet now most people can relate to that, right?
And people are forgiving and so much more accepting than you would anticipate them to be. And that's been the reaction to this book. Not only are people accepting and sharing, but they're offering their stories, which has been just tremendous.
I love that. I heard Sean Penn went to a book signing of yours. So what was that like?
Sean and I have known each other since we met in Iraq in 2003. And then we met in Haiti multiple times after the earthquake. And
he's such a great guy.
Yeah, and I was held in captive in Venezuela, and he had Venezuelan. So like we've sort of intersected many times over the years and are friendly. And yeah,
you just said casually, held captive in Venezuela.
Yeah. Yeah. That was also pretty traumatic too. That was by the secret police, and they accused me of being a spy. And you know, I was told that I'd probably never get out of there. So it was definitely not a fun.
And your wife still says, "Okay, you can do what you do."
She mostly says, "Okay."
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's pretty amazing. But
That's
she's
awesome.
so used to it.
Yeah.
All I've ever done is really cover conflict and disaster, and so she's used to it by now. And you know, this is just our rhythm.
Yeah. You covered Burning Man. I'm going to go a lighter story, but Burning Man and the mud pit, basically. What was that like?
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I mean, it was just so interesting to see that many people stuck. But you know, they're a really tough crew. Like if any festival in the world, they are the people best practiced at this radical self-reliance. And so it's almost a badge of pride that they could get themselves out of there and like enjoy the muck and the dust and the nastiness there. But you know, there's a lot of psychedelics being done at Burning Man too, so everybody asked me. I did not consume any. There was no, and by the way, you know, people think, oh, Matt did psychedelics. This was not Hunter S. Thompson, you know, slaloming across Las Vegas in his convertible Chevy Caprice. I was on a couch with psychologists.
Yes.
For
everybody
everything
was
that
watching
I did.
you. Were all you were well covered and all of that. If you could go back to the young self, your young Matt, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, what a great question. It's going to be okay. And it's okay. You can tell people.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
You can tell people.
Yeah.
And they will accept you. And you know, just like sharing with you.
Right.
It's remarkable how when you unburden yourself of these secrets that are so common, how people embrace you.
Yeah. The book again is titled No Time to Panic. Matt Gutman, thank you so much. This was a wonderful talk. I appreciate it. All right, we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.